to you all. I'm Vicky Gabereau. The name Trudeau pretty well commands a lot of attention in Canada. They are, after all, the closest thing we've ever had to a first family. And now, for tragic reasons, they are front and center again. In November of 1998, Michel, the youngest Trudeau child, went missing after an avalanche swept him into the waters of a British Columbia glacier. And sadly, the search was called off after divers failed to recover his body from the very deep lake. The tragedy thrust Canada's most famous family yet again into the headlines.
I'm just a heartbroken brother, hoping to bring my Misha's body back to my family.
The Trudeau family story began in 1971 when Canada's most popular Prime Minister ever married a 22-year-old beauty from Vancouver. It was a storybook marriage, at least at first. The year saw the birth of 3 sons, Justin, Sasha, and Michel. But life as Canada's First Lady proved too constraining for Margaret Trudeau. She spent the latter part of the 70s balancing her time between raising a family and living life as a celebrity. After Margaret's marriage to Pierre came to a well-publicized end, she spent 15 relatively low-profile years married to an Ottawa businessman. That marriage, which produced 2 more children, has unraveled since the tragic death of Michel Trudeau. News of the accident hit this country so hard, it elicited a wave of sympathy from coast to coast as Canadians mourned alongside the whole family. So I want to welcome now Margaret Trudeau and her eldest son, Justin Trudeau. Well, this can't be easy to be involved with this foundation, and I don't know which of you would care to start, but let's talk about the foundation and why it is that you've decided to be part of it.
I think I'll let Justin go first.
Okay. We're not a family that gets involved in a lot of things. Try to stay away from whatever.
Well, just in the past years.
Well, in the past,
years.
Well, yeah, well, no, absolutely. Since we retired as a family, we pulled out. But then when this happened last year, 2 years ago now.
A year and a bit.
A year and a bit ago.
I wish it were 2 years.
We just felt that there was something we wanted to do. We wanted to get involved a bit more with what Mishi loved and what Mishi lived. And working with avalanches and the avalanche teams that came into place to help him out and to try and find him, we just found out a lot about it, and we really wanted to help out.
Yes, and so how are you doing that? You're lending your name and you're going around, and this is your first stop, I guess.
I'm on was asked to be on the board of the Canadian Avalanche Association, and my title is fundraiser and mother of avalanche victim Michel. Yes. So I'm a good fundraiser, so I'm pleased to be able to do that, because we've concluded that the only thing, and when you have such a horrific death of your beautiful child, your son's brother, your husband's son, it's just so outrageously painful that you, in the healing process, I think it's very important to try and make the life that you've lost live on in our hearts and make a difference.
And
Misha
really
would have
mean
liked
something
that.
publicly.
Misha would have liked that. For myself, it's a bit more closer to my heart if just one mother doesn't have to go through what I've gone through after having lost my son to such a freak accident. Then I've done good work.
The thing is, though, about
baby steps.
Yes. The thing about avalanche is that for a great number of them, it's unpredictable. You just don't know.
Totally.
And freak is the true word. out of the ordinary.
But we are able to, and certainly when we talk with the avalanche expert we have here, Chris, they can be predictable.
It's not a question of a freak accident. I mean, they're unpredictable, natural. Well, no, they're natural entities, happenings that can be predicted with a certain amount of probabilities. It's probabilities, not whether it's going to happen or not, but there's high probabilities and high risks. There's ways to inform yourself through bulletins, through snow studies, through observation, through learning about avalanches, where you know that you don't know that an avalanche is going to happen, but you know that there's a 99% chance that slope's probably going to go.
Do you think that your brother knew that day that he went out?
Yeah, that's why they were hurrying out. They were trying to get out.
And that's why they left the boys in the hut so that they could go out and get help.
I see.
And Mish and Andrew, who are the two best skiers and the most experienced, they knew when they came in that this was a dangerous spot. And when they
went out... He was not
a
reckless guy.
No.
Well, yes, he was, but in
this situation.
In terms of this situation,
you say no, and you say yes.
His last, no, I don't know his very last words, but one of them was when he opened up the door to go outside early in the morning, was, oh. And the guys are there, what's wrong? Well, the weather's come in. It's raining, it's heavy snow, we're in trouble. It's dangerous. So they left the boys who were in, which I think showed valor, that they left the boys there. There wasn't enough food for them all to stay there. So they left the boys who had hiked in and had spent the night with them there were strangers, to stay there with the food, and they went out. And then they went even further in that Michelle and Andrew, his buddy, left Chunk and Bradley at the edge of the forest when they crossed the most dangerous spot. And they were the ones who were able to see that this little, small, 30-foot cement mixer was coming down through the trees. This wasn't an epic avalanche where the top of a mountain swept him away. This was just a little tiny, I keep saying, if you'd only taken 10 more minutes, I lay in bed, but you don't go there.
You can't do that. You can't do the if thing.
But it did.
And the thing with the size of the avalanche, though, is it's not, if the lake had been frozen, it was the kind of avalanche that would have tossed him down and slid Mish out onto the lake, and he would have been buried up to his waist, would have shook himself off, and we never would have even heard that there had been an avalanche that he'd slid down in.
Which is very often the case.
They were 2 weeks too early, and that was foolish.
Well, no, it was not foolish. It was the best tracks and the best skiing.
Well, and he had his dad's old skis that he really wanted to get up there to the top of the peak. The last day of his life, we have a saying in our family, because we're all skiers, when we're up and have had a superb day, that this was the best day ever. We feel quite confident that Mish, the day before he died, had the best day ever.
Fully epic day.
A fully epic day.
He had his father's old skis, like from 1946, you mean?
No. I don't think so. His dad is still a skier, so there are ones to pass on. But he was aware that it was going to be dangerous when he went in, and
he was, after all,
and they
man
did,
of the mountains.
When
he knew
they were called. They were called to get the from the boys in the woods that an avalanche was coming. So Mish told Andrew to lie down flat, so maybe it would just go over them. And then they had their avalanche, transmitters and everything, and they had eyewitnesses, so they knew they could be dug out. It didn't happen that way. They just got swept down. Yeah, but it was one of the survivors who went in, his friend Bednob, who went into the lake with him, and the dogs who went into the lake with him. Andrew didn't want to. He felt this enormous euphoria. He saw all the colors. He just felt so warm and so at peace, and almost like seeing little light, just so much light. That's the effect of this icy, icy, icy cold water. And Mish just actually put his head on his shoulder and fell asleep. So he didn't even have the hurt of drowning. He just slipped into and sleep into the icy cold. We couldn't.
First he ripped off his pack and started swimming, and was shouting for help and everything, and getting
Good kind of image.
Yeah.
As you understand. Justin and Margaret Trudeau, just a minute. Again, Margaret and Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, who lives in Vancouver now and is a high school teacher. And they are
And
here.
a 4-year-old kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
You teach kindergarten as well? Do I get to finish my
Frank's
sentence? No,
on.
I guess not, eh? You too are. Yeah. You're a formidable presence. They are, by the way, in this part of the world to promote the work of the Canadian Avalanche Association. And it's apparent to you, I'm sure, why that is the case. You have been to the location. You have both been to the lake. I don't know how many times, but I wonder if it's a consolation or an added agony to attend that place.
Oh, it's more than a consolation. It's glorious. It's one of the most
heaven on earth.
Beautiful places I've ever seen. And knowing that he's there is, that's where he was
destined to be. We both consider Mish as he was born on the feast day of the archangels. That's why we called him Michael Mish. And he's just been a treasure all his life to all of us. And for him, he loved the mountains, he loved the outdoors, he loved the water, he loved to canoe. And the difficult part, when I went up there right after his death, I saw this great shaft of light almost when the sun came over the edge of the hill that seemed to me taking his spirit out of the lake. So I felt very blessed to have been able to know his gravesite. Now, when we had the search in September, that was probably the hardest because we all in the family did not want him to be found.
Yes.
We know that's his grave.
Could you not have asked to not have
No, the coroner's report insisted for 100 feet around, just so that if his body had risen in when the thaw came, that no indignities he would suffer.
Yeah.
But the only thing he gave up was his knapsack.
His knapsack and his sleeping bag.
One of the great number of stories that surrounded this event was the dog story. Which is, it's a heartbreaking addendum, isn't it?
6 months before Mishi died, he had a serious car accident in Portage-la-Prairie. And his car, he was driving along the Trans-Canada, and his car was sideswiped by a pickup truck that just pulled out of a campsite and didn't look left. So he rolled about 5 times in his big truck, and he was fine, but his dog had run off. And so then he spent the next 5 days searching for his dog in Portage-la-Prairie. And I spent a lot of time talking to him on the phone and crying with him because his dog was his life. He loved his dog, Mako. He was training him to be an avalanche dog. And he searched for 5 days. And then I finally the family had to intervene and say, well, Sasha would come out and get you, but Mish, you had to leave your dog behind. I was saying to go to farmhouse and farmhouse and check and see if they found
Taking him in or something?
I said, Mom, he's in the prairies. There's 1,000 acres between farmhouse.
Oh, you Vancouver girl,
So
you.
He was taken one night. He was given the car by the pharmacist in town, because he'd had a few lacerations and he felt sorry for him. And he also was in the newspaper. He was very innovative about how reaching out and he went in the local paper and the local radio and everything, telling about his dog. And on the 5th day, on the Friday night, he'd gone the night before to a meeting with evangelists.
Yes.
And both up in
Enthusiasts.
Heartland.
Yes.
Yeah. And they believed that they prepared him for his death, that they showed him that night Jesus Christ. What he got out of it, which he just loved, was a pen that he could turn around, and the whole Lord's Prayer came up in a window. But he's always
the love for gadgets.
He liked gadgets.
Yes, indeed. But he the last night he was coming home on the Saturday, and on the Saturday morning he called and he said, "Mummy, I found
They call you Mummy.
Makwa. I found Makwa." Makwa had gone away to lick his wounds. He was badly lacerated on one paw, and he'd gone not far from the campsite. And one of the things Mishi had done was he'd gone around and what did he do? Did he do, Justin, all around the campsite, the trees, the...
Oh yes, Mishi marked his property, territories in
What
terms
a
of
guy.
the campsite.
No, it's a great idea.
Looking for the
Think of
dog.
that.
So a nice mother went up with her children in her camper, and she was just sitting out on the beach and saying, and saw the first star and said, "Star, light, star, bright first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might. I wish the boy would find his dog tonight." And then because she just heard at the campground that a boy had lost his dog. And then she was sitting there and she felt this wet nose on her arm. And there was Mox. So she left my boy in another night of misery because she thought it was too late to call or something. And she called first thing in the morning. So that was miraculous. Then after Mishi died, Makwa wouldn't get into the helicopter, which was taking out the boys who had suffered, the survivors who had suffered hypothermia, and the dogs would not get into the helicopter. So they had to leave them. They left them food, and they stayed for 5 days, Makwa, Misha's dog, and they made a real path all the way around the lake, and they'd made a snow cave for themselves. They left them food up in the mountain. And then at the end of the 5 days, they took up a helicopter, and the big avalanche dog, Bella, who's the most respected authoritarian of the avalanche dogs. And she just got out of the helicopter, and the dogs came towards them. They'd seen where the dogs were when they landed, and the dogs came towards them. And Bella just lay down on the ground, respecting that these dogs had been on a mission, and the mission was over. And the dogs just jumped up into the helicopter. Bella got up and jumped up into the helicopter. They all kissed and smelled each other, closed the doors, and left the mountain.
He was ready to leave.
He'd done his search, as Mishi had done his search.
Were you there for that?
No, I wasn't there for that. I didn't go up to the lake until September of last year.
Right. We'll take a little break. Back in a minute. Justin Trudeau, Margaret Trudeau, his mama. Margaret Trudeau and her oldest son, Justin Trudeau. Do you all call her Mummy?
Yep.
Mishi called me Mama San.
He would, I suppose, just slightly different.
Well, because I do a lot of Japanese cooking, and we always celebrate every time we're together as a family, it seems, with Japanese food. So he's always called me Mama San. And Sash calls me Mum.
Nicknames are big in you. You don't have one, or do you? If you do, are you going to tell me?
No.
No, you're not telling me?
No, I've never had a nickname that really stuck. JP, JT. Justy, but not...
JP, JT.
Yeah.
JP.
You took a course in avalanche safety? What would you call it? Professional one?
It's a level 1 avalanche course. Basically, it's about getting to know the snow and learning how to monitor weather conditions and make reasonable assumptions about what the avalanche likelihood's going to be. there's many different levels of courses. There's a recreational one that sort of teaches you just to understand. A lot of it is just understanding what factors come together. The level 1 course is a little more organized geared towards a ski patroller working with avalanches within an operation. And then throughout the levels, as people get more and more experience, you get into actually predicting and forecasting avalanches.
Did you do this course because of your involvement now with the foundation, so that you would know what you were talking about?
Yeah, basically, I did this course because I knew I was going to be coming talking to you, and I needed to know what it was all about.
You were afraid of me, were you?
Actually, no, there's more than that. I'm
Good.
Getting involved with avalanches, I teach high school, and one of the things that we're getting involved with is a program called Snow Smart, which is going out into high schools and teaching, making aware of avalanche issues. Basically, it's about letting kids know what the limits are.
Where the stupid line is.
We're pushing limits. I mean, teenagers and young people and old people take risks and push limits. I mean,
especially people in your age group, you and your brother's age group.
Well, it's just perceived that way.
I think
it's not perceived that way.
12, and I think it's
See the
I still take risks. I'll jump off a cornice. Cornice.
As soon as she finds out what it is, she'll jump off.
I'll jump off it, but Justin has in the past, because I found when I had a baby down in my mom's arms at Whistler Down nursing for my second children, when everyone else was jumping off the cornices, Justin would have to find me a little traverse around the edge, because my maternal instinct would not let me let go to jump 15 feet and hope that I land.
I think that was very wise, but I certainly liked your action now. You just my maternal instinct, she said, covering the source of everything.
Yeah. My needy baby waiting for me below.
Well, that's very good. Wise of you to not take chances like that.
It's risks. It's all about risks.
Well,
our children are taking risks. Pierre taught the boys to take risks from the time they're very small. He had them leap off the top of the refrigerator, and I used to just
leap off the top of the refrigerator
and have to trust whether he'd catch them and break their fall or not.
The highest jump we ever did was 15 feet down into his arms, not his arms, but he'd break our fall on the catching it. 15 feet off a guard tower somewhere in Western Ontario.
Were you there for that episode?
No. Mommy tries not to watch her children being right at the edge, but they are at the edge.
Were you all three as equally enthusiastic about the outdoors?
Very much so, in our different ways.
Yes.
But yeah, very, very much. We were raised canoeing with my dad, and we
saw pictures.
Yeah, well,
we didn't see much, though. I think it's truly remarkable, and I think that probably your mother and your father, maybe it was a conspiracy of the press to leave off you guys.
Well, I expressed my strongest in the strongest way I knew how to please leave me alone, that I couldn't withstand this circus of press and the invasion into my privacy. How could I raise my children to be normal children if we were constantly being barraged and their mother was being humiliated in the press for one reason or the other, or just nosiness that wasn't necessary.
Of course, it didn't work. We're not normal, but
You seem fairly normal to me.
Oh no!
But you know when they're not
paranormal.
Paranormal.
Yeah.
But when I first saw a picture of you some years ago in the newspaper, you had come out here for some meeting or just before you maybe started to work. I thought I wouldn't have recognized this young man if he'd jumped off the refrigerator onto my head. I wouldn't have known your face. And a handsome face it is, too, isn't it?
Well, we kept that face hidden, but he tries to keep it hidden now with all the...
Well, I mean, it's not, it is a rather... It's not uncommon.
Now, our son Sasha, my son Sasha, Justin's brother, is also, as Pierre has it sort of asked us and endorsed us and encouraged us all as a family to make the biggest effort we can in order to help. with the Canadian Avalanche Association and inform. One of the things that we want to do, that I'm fundraising for, that the foundation is fundraising for, is a line above the weather, below the weather, above the ticker tape, a line that would go across, giving specific danger areas, avalanche areas, as they rate
the danger
them.
level, like higher.
The danger level.
That's a good
so
idea.
So that kids can, when they're looking at their Newbridge stock and checking the weather, how many pairs of
kids are
socks
looking
they
at their
need
Newbridge
on.
stock?
There's a whole generation out there, and these
I
kids
know.
may be 40, and they can also look at the avalanche danger and maybe make an informed, safe decision that it would be stupid to go out and risk my life, because this may be my last day on this earth. So
Chris Stetham is going to come out and give us some demonstrations and talk about that, and I invite you to stay. And just as a conclusion to this part, how is Papa?
He's doing well. He's resting.
Yeah.
Well, he was part of this whole epidemic that's gone on and on. And
Get your shots.
Yeah.
Have you had your shot?
The flu shot?
No, I'm off to Africa in a couple of weeks. So I'm having way more other shots that are not nearly as pleasant as a flu shot. Yeah.
Africa, huh? Maybe you'll have to stay here for a while. Okay, so we'll stick around, if you will, and we'll talk to Chris Stetham. He is the president of the Canadian Avalanche Association and directly involved with the foundation. Also the president, is he not? Is he the president? Well, yes. I'll get it all straight in just a second. Yeah. Thanks. Chris Stetham has joined me now, or us, shall I say, Margaret and Justin Trudeau. And I should actually separate you, call you Margaret Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, so that you're not like the matched set.
Well, we are.
I suppose you are. Chris is the president of the Canadian Avalanche Foundation, and he has spent over 30 years studying avalanches, and so he knows whereof he speaks. How are you?
I'm very well, Vicky.
Okay, so are these things on the increase, or are people that are being devastated by them on the increase?
There's a lot more people out in the backcountry.
Right.
And in the 1990s, the numbers of incidents and people hurt or killed have jumped dramatically.
So if you presume that a percentage of avalanches caused by humans being there, then I guess the incidence of avalanche goes up too.
Exactly. More people are out in the mountains, more avalanches occur naturally, and there are more people who trigger avalanches themselves.
Yeah. Is there a greater rate of survival now if you're trapped in an avalanche?
No, I don't think necessarily there is. Certainly if you're prepared, if you've got some training and you've got the right equipment and you've got good partners, you've got a much better chance of surviving.
Yeah, but what's the chance of people being that well trained? I mean, most people out there aren't.
That's correct. Most people aren't. We'd certainly like to see more people in the R column than the aren't column.
Yeah, and they can take a course just like Justin did.
That's right. There are various levels of courses, but there are courses called the RAC courses, or recreational avalanche courses, for snowmobilers, skidooers, for the skiing groups, for the snowboarders, climbers. There's numerous sources of those courses.
What's the deal with snowmobilers, though? Do they cause a lot of avalanche just by the sheer speed and force of their machine?
Snowmobiles have improved greatly over the last few years, and they're getting out in the mountains now. You could as easily see a helicopter skier on the same terrain as you could see a snowmobiler today. And that's why more accidents are occurring. They're just better machines.
You'd think they'd be able to get out of the way. I mean, if one of the techniques of escaping the wrath of the avalanche is to go sideways and to try and get out of the path, I don't quite know how you do that, but I'm not up there either. But if you're on a snowmobile, surely that sideways traverse would get you out of the way more quickly.
Well, what happens with snowmobiles is people try and ride them up the hill, and they do what's called high marking. So they go actually up into the avalanche starting zone, and then the idea is you turn your machine and you race back down the hill, but quite often
in front of it?
Well, theoretically, the avalanche isn't going to happen. But they're still going up the hill, and they trigger the avalanche. And then once it starts, it might travel at 150, 200 kilometers an hour. Most snowmobiles can't go that fast.
No, they can't. Not yet. Thank heavens. Have you ever been in an avalanche?
I have been caught in avalanches. I've never been buried.
No. And so why are you so gung-ho about watching the avalanche and doing all of this work?
I took an interest in skiing and mountaineering when I was very young, and I studied geography in university, and the three went together to a lifelong career
Where do
in
you
avalanche
live?
protection. I live in Canmore, Alberta.
Right, which is not the hotbed, but where would the hotbed of the avalanche season be?
There are a variety of sites. There's a lot of people in the Whistler area who are out in the backcountry. There's a lot of people in the national parks in the Rockies, and a lot of people in the interior ranges of southern British Columbia.
Right. And Canmore, you don't have to go too far to get. You're right there. You're right.
You're right there. Canmore's the center of mountaineering in Canada, really.
Yeah.
More of the guides and the climbers live there.
What about helicopter skiing? Does the helicopter appearing on the top of a mountain, will it trigger an avalanche?
You could trigger an avalanche with a helicopter, but all situations that are professionally guided are pretty low risk situations. These people are highly trained in what to do and where to go and when to be there and when not to be there.
Yes. Did you take your course from him?
No, I didn't. We did course with 3 very experienced guides. One was a backcountry guide, one was a highways expert, and the other was a ski patroller. Well, their areas of training were the sort of a broad range. So we got a broad range of expertise in the course. It was.
Where did you do that? Here?
I did it up at Whistler.
All right.
Yeah.
Have you taken such a course?
No.
Good answer.
Enthusiastic.
That'll be a no.
I'm sure that Chris is going to have me taking
Yes.
the course. He's got me since I've joined the board in the foundation. He has me making phone calls. I have something called phonophobia or something. Anyway.
Phonophobia?
Whatever. I just really, the phone is not my favorite thing. And he's had me calling all across the country to mountain co-ops to get them to help us with our drive for subscriptions. A $25 subscription gives you a membership to our association, and will help fund a lot. And that's what the drive is all about: is getting members, getting donations, keeping the kids
You may have
safe.
phonophobia, but you're good at this. I'll be right back with Chris Declan and the other two, Margaret and Justin Trudeau. I'm back with the president of the Avalanche Foundation, along with Margaret and Justin Trudeau. And I think that I should point out that a lot of people, you say, think this is a government foundation and that you're a civil servant. It ain't the case.
No, the foundation is a fundraising agency to support the Public Avalanche Bulletin, which is privately supported with a group of government, corporate, donor partners through the Canadian Avalanche Association. Our goal is to bring it into a sound financial footing and to bring it to a 7-day-a-week service.
Good. 7 days opposed to, because the website is just how many days a week?
Well, the website's there all the time.
Yeah, I know, but you update it.
It's updated routinely twice a week and occasionally for special circumstances.
So you want it to be, as Margaret said, have maybe even something running under the weather.
Yeah, if you got up in the morning and wanted to go snowmobiling or skiing in the backcountry, we'd like you to have today's evaluation and forecast, and you can make your route plan based on that.
If I should ever decide to go up on these mountains, I know they're up there somewhere. I've seen
You
them.
and I can do avalanche training together.
You
Beck.
think so? You would be so embarrassed to have anything athletic to do with me that it would just be beyond grim. And
No, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I just feel so good.
You would. You would feel so superior. You have to wear one of those things, though, and it doesn't go with our outfits. But those things are something.
Rescue transceivers.
Transceiver.
What these things do, if you take one of these,
yeah, thanks.
and I take the other one, you wear this thing when you go out, you put it on in the morning, you forget about it.
Right, okay.
If something should happen and your partner should be carried down in an avalanche and you were left on the surface, if I was searching for you, I would switch this onto receive, and you would be transmitting a signal.
I would.
And I can find you by the sound getting louder as I get closer.
And I would do the reverse if it were you that would
Exactly.
be lost. And what kind of a distance does this cover?
About 30 meters. So what I would do is I would ski down the slope, traversing back and forth until I
I see,
got a
and finally get a signal.
And then I search for you, and as it gets louder and louder, I keep turning it down until I'm right on top of you. And then, once I get there, I take
You've got your
this
stick, your poker.
probe, which is just like a tent pole, but it's a 3-meter long probe.
Yes.
I probe in the snow to find you, and then once I find you, I take this shovel and dig you up as fast as I can.
As fast as you can. How long have I got?
Well, you've probably got less than the 50% chance after half an hour. You've got a pretty good chance in about 15 or 20 minutes.
I guess it depends on how deep.
It does. The deeper you're buried, the less likely you are to survive.
You tell me if it's an old story that if you try and swim in it.
Well, you try
We're
and
not speaking about this situation. We're talking about the standard snow situation.
You try and stay on the surface of the moving snow. And
I don't know how in God's name you would do
with
that.
swimming motions, by getting rid of all your equipment, and by trying to move and stay on the surface and spread yourself out and stay on the surface as much as you
And
can.
keep a pocket, yes?
The important
yes, sir.
thing to think about is just fight. Fight like hell. I mean, when you get up there, you know, whether you're swimming backwards or forwards or, you know, kicking or clawing or whatever, as long as you're really active about trying to get out and over to the side.
I'm sure you get quite confused, though, because you don't know which is up and which is down. I mean, gravity is...
You do get disoriented, yeah.
Oh, I would think.
But that's what these beepers are and these probes are, because when you think that a probe is coming up from underneath you, you're wrong.
Then you'll know. You should try and create a little air pocket, too.
If you're buried, at the end, you try and get your hands up to your face and push the snow away and create an air pocket. And the old story is, don't panic.
Oh, I love that. The plane is going like this, or I mean, of course you panic. You can't. It's hard to stop panicking. The only way you don't panic is if you've been through it before, maybe.
Well, I think you might still panic. In reality, your body looks after you and shuts down a lot of your conscious functions fairly quickly. But I think most importantly, before we got there, we better make sure that we had a partner with us.
Yes.
And that partner also knew what they were doing, and they had the proper equipment as well.
We'll take a little break, and then we've got an avalanche dog. This is Friday, and we always have a dog, and in this case, it worked out beautifully to have this dog. I'll be right back. Tuesday on the show, possibly the only man who can deal with Don Cherry. Ron McLean will be here. This month on the show from Mad TV comedian Deborah Wilson, music with the Wilkinsons and Real Statics as well, plus radio host Arthur Black. So for free tickets to these shows, you can call us at 604-609-5766 or email us at gabereau@ctv.ca. Margaret and Justin Trudeau are with me, and we're joined by Anton Horvath. He is the president of the Canadian Avalanche Rescue Dog Association, and this is his companion and worker companion. This is Tahoe.
Yes.
And is this the best breed for this type of work?
Any of the traditional working bloodlines we've had good success with, but German Shepherds and Golden Retrievers are the two most predominant breeds in our organization.
Right, is it nose that counts?
It's instinctive search drive that they have, and they're born with that, and we just take it from there and develop it.
How do you train them?
Well, you start when they're puppies. You start when they're puppies, when they're young, and develop a very strong bond with them. And in the spring, we have a spring training session with new handlers in our organization. We assess the dogs, and we teach them the search command in a more friendly environment off the snow.
Yes.
And you go through a progression. You start with the master, and someone else is handling the dog. And because of the high bond between the dog and master, as soon as the master's gone, the dog wants to find him right now.
Right. So he finds him right now, and that's how you train him to find the right now,
and that really
the other
gets
person.
the drive going.
Yes.
So and then eventually the handler's working his own dog, and the dog is looking for a stranger. Then we go to the snow environment
Yeah.
in the winter, and we have a 5-phase progression teaching the dog how to search for humans buried in an avalanche. And once again, we take a step backward. The dog is looking for his master. Then we introduce a stranger into the hole so that there's 2 people in the hole, his master, the master, and a stranger. And then eventually the dog is just looking for a stranger, and he's watching this all the time, so it's not like it's hidden yet. And it's just a progression of more and more complex exercises until eventually the dog is out of sight with his handler, and they don't know what's going on. And you give him the search command, and the dog...
He knows his job by then.
Exactly. And the holes are set up in such a way in the slope so that you train the dog to go in a zigzag pattern, so he patterns up the slope and ranges away from the handler and covers as much terrain as quickly as possible.
And do you have a unit on him, a beeping unit?
Yes, we do. As Chris explained, there's avalanche transceivers for people. This particular company had developed a transceiver to find your skis if you lose them under the snow. And since if we are involved in an accident where a handler and a dog are buried, we'd prefer that the handler is found first.
Yes.
So we have the different frequency on the dog, and it's attached to the back of their harness.
Yes.
So that if there is an accident, you switch it to search mode to find the handler, and then you switch it to ski mouse mode. And
He hears it,
eh? Yes, there's a lot of electronic background in here, so he can hear that static.
Right. And when you have to go and find somebody, does his personality change? Does he get quite keyed up, and does he know he's working now? I mean, he knows he's not working now, doesn't he?
Yes. Well, he comes to work with me every day up the mountain. I'm the avalanche forecaster on Whistler Mountain, so he accompanies me up the mountain on a skidoo every day. I kennel him and take him for some exercise, but when we do a training scenario, or if we're on an actual search, as soon as he gets to his site and sees avalanche debris, I don't have to say a word to him. He's
got the message.
And it's all I can do to contain him. If he's not on leash, he'll start searching without me saying a word.
Got a good success rate, this boy?
Well, we, as you know, there has yet to be a live recovery in Canada.
I know.
But that's the whole aim of our organization, why we came to be. Because a rescue dog is not the be-all, end-all, no. But it's another tool in your arsenal.
Exactly.
Electronic equipment cannot be relied on, and so he's another tool, another resource.
Well, thanks very much for coming with him, isn't he? He's very beautiful. Hey, Tahoe, come over here. Can you come to me? Is he allowed to come to me?
Oh, sure.
Okay, we'll just take a little break while I cuddle a dog, and then I'll be back to say my goodbyes. Come on, baby. No, he doesn't want to. He doesn't like the noise. No. Doesn't like the noise. Monday on the show from Drew Carey's Whose Line Is It Anyway? The improv comedian Colin Montfrey.
Now listen to me now. This isn't one of my rants. When you go through puberty, do not wear sweatpants.
Guest accommodations for my show are provided by Canadian Pacific Hotels, featuring the Hotel Vancouver, the city's landmark. It's located in the heart of downtown, and the Waterfront Hotel, which offers panoramic views of the harbor. Well, not wanting to run the risk of confusing the issue about which we speak today, you are going to go to Africa, and you're going to do what then?
The other charity that I'm involved with, I'm a full-time volunteer, which to my horror of everyone who thinks I should be making money, but I make money for these volunteer, and the other one is WaterCan. And we started a foundation for WaterCan. We put in freshwater wells in the poorest places in the world. And our big projects are in Africa. And we're opening up 2 wells for Michelle that we've raised money for Michelle's wells. People have sent in money to WaterCan specifically for Michelle's wells. So he's going to be able to give some for his spirit will be giving fresh water to instead of the filthy water that they're exposed
I think that's amazing. Well, you're thinking all the time, you people. So how do you mind being on television?
Like when I was little.
Yes, exactly the same. You've had a gap, but I guess you're into it now. So I just thought I'd tell you in conclusion that if you attend a mountain equipment co-op, and who doesn't, you're able to give a donation there, and you can join up, or you can go on their website, which is www.avalanche.ca, and a very strong thank you today to Margaret and Justin Trudeau, as well as to Chris Stephan and to Anton Horvath in Tahoe as well. It was nice that your mother and sister and niece were able to come.
Yeah.
Your cousin, your grandma, your auntie.
Yeah.
The family affair, which it always is with these people. Thanks so much, Margaret. Thanks very much. I can't get out of here, all right?